This episode is brought to you by Stars. Lisa Tadeo's best-selling book is about to become your favorite new show. Based on a true story, the new Stars original series 3 Women stars Shailene Woodley as Gia, a grieving and struggling writer who embarks on a cross-country road trip where she meets 3 women determined to radically change their lives. This one is not to be missed. Watch the season premiere of 3 Women now, only on Stars and the Stars app.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
On this episode of Knockin Doorz Down, we welcome Carlos Vieira. We talk about his book and why he wrote it now, his intentions behind it and helping to inspire people no matter what challenges and adversity they're going through, what the proceeds of the book will go to benefit, and we'll even touch on the insemination of the 51FIFTY lifestyle brand, how auto racing saved his life, and what he continues to strive to do daily and how it can help you by knocking doors down. Welcome to Knockin Doorz Down. Jason here with you, and of course, Chris joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
A little jump in, and then Carlos Vieira. What's going on?
What's up, fellas?
Looking svelte.
Oh, thank you.
You're always looking dapper.
Yeah,
is
thanks,
that the missus? Did she
believe
clothe
it
you?
or not, it's me, man. I don't mind doing a little shopping, buying my own stuff. Yeah.
Really? You'll have to take me because I can't. As you can tell, I'm like always in workout pants and stupid T-shirts. So,
well, I'm also coming from work too, so I gotta dress the part for work and all that.
Gotta represent. So, we'd filled.
You're behind a microphone all day. Nobody gets to see you. You know what I'm saying? You're not worried if you look like shit or not.
Right.
It's like those the theater guys. Behind the stage, they're all wearing just black jeans and black T-shirts, and no one ever sees them, but they're the heart of it. Right?
Who gives a crap? It's funny because I was joking with Chris about this. It's like the more I just look like scummy, the more girls go, "Wow, you look so hot today."
I could smell your stench. You got a stench now.
Right?
It's that male stench.
Odorific. So before we got rolling with you here, we filled folks in, of course, on some of your background, working in the farming industry, most notably sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes and yams,
Yeah, and then, some things that occurred. Of course, we'll be talking about the book here in a second. But that you went into philanthropy, started some foundations, got to racing, and we'll touch on those things other times. But really, the thing we want to focus on today, why a book? And I ask because, I've seen all the charitable stuff that you've done. I know the reasoning behind it from our personal conversations. You didn't really have to put out a book, but why talk about your addiction, and let alone in a written form? I mean, it's a great tell-all for those. Of course, you can go to kddmediacompany.com, get more information on it.
So it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. I'm 48 years old now, just turned 48 last month, and I know it's something I've been thinking about. I've been 14 years clean, and as every year goes by, as I get older, I keep thinking to myself, what more can I do with my past? I mean, it's when you lived the life I did back then and caused the damage that I did, it just seems like I should be able to do something more positive with it. I mean, I've done some foundation stuff as you know. But it never really concentrated on the drug addiction part. We do have a campaign called Race to Be Drug Free. But for some reason, something kept telling me that if I write my story, if I just tell people exactly, what I did, let them know how bad I was, and I turned around, I turned everything around and did something positive with it, that it can help others. I mean, it's really as simple as that, And I thought to myself at one time, I'll wait till I get older and maybe, 50, 60 years old or and then write a book then. But then I've been thinking to myself, well, then maybe it's too late to do something
Right.
more. You know what I'm saying? I'm young and I'm energetic now, and I feel great, and I'm still very ambitious. You know, I never stop wanting to do more and be more and grow things and build things and do something with my life. You know, I wake up every day and asking myself, what more can I do? And so I thought, you know what, why not now? And I know it's a little crazy, right? To be able to, you know, come out, basically open your life and tell everybody about who you are, or not, I shouldn't say who you are, who you were at that time. But I believe what's important is who I am now. And deep down inside, I'm very happy with who I am and what I do and what I did, you know, those 13 years back when I was younger and stupid, you know, doesn't really define anything about who I am and what I'm able to do. So
I thought it was interesting how descriptive and like basically you laid your soul bare into what I've been reading so far. Did you feel it was important to kind of be as honest as you could be? It doesn't feel like you're holding anything back in this book in terms of description and what happened. Yeah. So was that, you know, a conscious effort on your part to be as real as you could be with this?
Yeah, for sure. First, I wanted to be completely honest on everything I wrote, because I didn't want to be in situations like now where I'm talking to you guys and you guys ask me questions and I have to not feel like I'm speaking from the heart and being honest and truthful. And so I wanted to be, first of all, completely honest with everything. Second, too, of course, you know, when you were binging as much as I was doing and using as much as I was, you know, you don't remember every story out there. So you remember this, but certain stories do stand out, and certain things, you know, I do remember clearly. And so they're the ones I sat down and really got into detail, and I wanted to really try to get the reader to put them there, you know, like if they were there watching it and experiencing it and actually, you know, maybe even, you know, putting themselves in my shoes and what I was going through at the time. Yeah. And all that. So I want to be descriptive as much as possible and just be as real as possible.
And it came out that way. I was talking to Jason about it, even just with my short time with the book, that it pushed me right along. I was just reading like page after page, and it feels like a novel or a movie or something that the way the pacing of the book is really good. The way you described everything is really, it captivates you. And like you said, it's like you're right there. It's like you're just behind you piggyback or something, walking around the streets, you know, checking out what you're talking about. And it just comes across that way. And it's really authentic, you know?
Well, I really appreciate that. I really try to focus on making that happen, doing that. You know, people, you know, it is an autobiography because it is talk about my life. But, you know, it is the storytelling of those 13 years, you know, and all the stuff that happened in those 13 years and how I got pulled into drug addiction, you know, some of the darkest days of my drug addiction when I basically locked myself in my home. And then the binging that happened afterwards and all the arrests and the drug rehabs and everything. It's a storytelling, but of course I had to go back and tell, you know, before the drugs, right? I mean, I was a normal kid chasing.
Yeah, like you were saying, you're like a jock, you know, just kind of doing the high school stuff, chasing women, playing sports.
I came from a good family and all that, so you had to go back a little bit and touch on that kind of stuff, and then of course, you know, the things I did afterwards, and how I got clean. You know, that's one of the things that I was excited. I guess one of the things that I also enjoyed writing in the book or about the book was about why everything did exist afterwards, right? Why did I start racing? Why did I, you know, create the foundation? Why, you know, why I created the brand 51FIFTY? And so it was neat to be able to sit down and put that down on paper and actually explain to people why all this exists.
Yeah, and that's stuff that we'll touch on, you know, because we'll have several conversations with you about different areas of topic. For me, what I really like, too, about it, and I know I said it to you after I read it and lots of other people, is that it does read like a movie, which... knowing you, it's like, all right, it's time to make a fucking movie. Okay, Carlos, here we go.
It'll be a great movie.
Starring Jason and Chris.
I don't know.
I think you have some acting experience. You can play me. How's that?
That's what I went to college for. I could probably pull it off. But what I liked about it, too, and I've read other books, and as I will continue to talk about, and both of you guys have been amazing support for me in my sobriety. Mine was alcohol, not cocaine or any other hardcore drugs. But is that it didn't blame anyone else. You took total onus of your action, which I've seen that happen, and I've seen it, and with people when I've sat in AA meetings, and you and I, Carlos, have had conversations about this where I had to change groups at times because it seemed like people were looking for a solution to just be able to drink again, and they didn't want to take responsibility for their actions. And that's one thing I commend on, and again, people can check out the book. You can get it ordered through the links at kddmediacompany.com, is taking full onus of your actions. And you didn't blame anybody but yourself.
And it wasn't always like that, though. You're right. I mean, during those days, I was blaming everybody. I mean,
right.
Or I shouldn't say so much blaming people, even though I was here and there. But it was excuses, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you are in that mental state, or if you're in that lifestyle, if you're letting it around you, you will make excuses to go get it.
Yep, you'll always think of a reason.
Exactly. And so I was the king of making excuses to go on a binge, argument with whatever, a family member or stresses, whatever it was. And so I think sometimes I even looked for those fights and arguments.
Sure.
Maybe subconsciously I was.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And so I think I caused a lot of pain for a lot of people around me. And so I wanted to make sure that it was clear in the book, because I believe that's also one of the reasons I wrote this book too, is to put maybe a little closure, even though it's been, over 14 years now, but still the loved ones around me, to make sure that they understand that they had absolutely nothing,
right? No
reason. They shouldn't be to blame at all.
Right.
I never, they were not the reasons that I used. I used because I wanted to get high, I wanted to feel good, and I was being selfish and wanted to whatever, blanket the cover up whatever I was trying to cover up at the time.
Yeah. Well, for me, I know it was a lot of insecurity, which is ironic for a person that speaks for a living, but for me it was definitely a lot of insecurity and a lot of hurt, which reading the book, there was a lot of parallels in there for me. And when you're talking about, the excuses or the quote unquote triggers, and I can relate very much to the all of a sudden finding more triggers. It wasn't that I had legit triggers, it's that I started finding more triggers, which is a common thing that I hear from people who've gone through recovery as well.
That was one thing that I wanted to bring up to you, Carlos, is I thought it was really cool in your book how not only do you have like a great story here with about 19 chapters, you have this thing at the end of the book that's the resources that Jason is talking about with Drugs 101, Drugs in Everyday Life, and Triggers. What was the reasoning and kind of inspiring you to put that as almost like a little appendix in the book and keep it in here as a very important part for who's reading it?
Well, the book is, one huge part of the book is to help people, right? I mean, that's why I'm writing it. So it's to inspire, it's to motivate, but it's also, for those people that might be going through something very similar to what I was going through, or either they were or they are, or they might even consider, experimenting with drugs or whatever. So I wanted to be there as a resource for those people, right? To share with them what worked for me, and what worked and what is working, right? And I tried really hard because, not to make sure I'm not like preaching to anybody or telling people what to do or how to do it, because I don't think that's the right way. I spoke through what I did. My actions.
And I think that's the best way, because it doesn't come across as preachy or like you're trying to tell us something. You're just telling us your own story through your own words. And in that, I think people identify the most out of it, because it doesn't sound fake. It doesn't sound contrived or like you're writing this for whatever reason. It comes across as very honest, and I think that's the thing that connects with people the most.
And I don't think you would have been able to help people if you somehow put yourself up on a pedestal at the end of it, and that doesn't occur. It doesn't occur at all.
Well, for sure, because I went through the ups and downs, right? So it was... all those binges and those rehabs and so forth. I tried a lot of things to help me get clean, and so I cannot preach to anybody because I failed so many times, and it just so those things I put at the end of the book was just what finally the choices I made to finally help me get clean, and what helped me stay clean, and to this day I still practice. There's still certain things that I do.
That was a good resource of knowledge there at the end of the book. I thought it was cool. To keep me away from ever going back and doing drugs again.
How much, you touch on this, how much was the support of family and friends that were close to it in the process. I didn't ask you this prior, but was it something you just started working on, and then you let your beautiful wife Asia
in regards to writing the book,
just getting the book out? Because some people have been kind of like, so
you might be
book.
Might be surprised to hear this, but I didn't tell no one. So I've been writing this book. I've been writing this book for the last, I would say, 15, 16 months.
Wow, just only you knew.
I bought myself a laptop separate from my work computers and work laptops. And anytime I had an opportunity, I would sit on my laptop and I would just start writing chapters and so forth. And the only person I said anything to was my wife Asia. I said, babe, I'm writing a book. It's about my past. It's on this computer. Okay. I'm not planning to share with you any of what I'm going to be writing or anything. I'm just letting you know. But if you feel like you need to know and it's bugging you or something, please talk to me and ask me, and I'll share with you. And she says, Carlos, you do what you need to do. I'm good. When you're ready to share with me, let me know. Or she said something like that in regards to she just let me be, me do my thing. And so I didn't tell nobody nothing until just a few weeks ago when I said, I started telling people that needed to know.
Yeah.
I started telling the people that are around me that's going to help me promote the book and so forth. So yeah, it was. I just kind of just dropped it on everybody. Say, hey guys, I'm writing a book. Here it is. And by the way, it's launching on this day, and we're going to be launching a podcast. We're going to be launching a website, and it's talking about my life and the 13 years of my drug addiction. And so. Anyway, it was kind of a surprise to a lot of people.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a lot of hope, and of course we're gonna have an episode for you guys here soon with Carlos, really on the reasoning behind the podcast, which of course you're listening here, and what we really want to get out and how we want to help people. But what is your goal with the book and hoping to help people? Because one thing I want to highlight again, the book is available at kddmediacompany.com, and all the funds, that's not proceeds, that's all the funds, that's 100% of everything goes to helping with the foundation and the programs there.
Yeah, so yes, like you said, 100% of all sales. So no matter if you're buying the hardcover or going on Amazon or online, buying the paperback or the ebook, 100% of the sales will be donated. The Race to Be Drug-Free campaign is something we started a while back, and it's to help kids stay off of drugs. We have the after-school boxing program, jiu-jitsu program, free for the kids. So it's ways to get them off the streets, away from not just drugs, but from gang life too. Yep. A lot of times those things are connected. And so this book is going to help fund those efforts, and also to bring in, speakers into schools.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a benefit in there, a benefit for people coming in talking about their past and like we're doing, right?
Yeah, it's a big impact for those kids. I got to say, when you're younger and sometimes you get tired of hearing your parents say the same old thing, or maybe your grandma, your friends, but when you hear somebody that you look up to or have respect for, or somebody else in the industry that's like, look, man, hey, I was here and I did it and look at where I'm at now. Man. That's where I think the big inspiration comes from with a lot of the kids. And I think this book and what you're doing here with this podcast is going to connect with those kids on the same level. And
I think, one of the things I think that's going to happen too, and I hope to happen, is start the conversation too. There's a lot of people I think that that been through stuff and they're afraid to speak out. And I'm trying to encourage that. Yeah. Not just through all the different campaigns. We have a race for autism, race to end the stigma. So there's a lot of people out there that have family members, loved ones with either autism or mental illness, or maybe even drug addiction in their home. Look for help, reach out for help, ask questions, and don't be ashamed to speak up.
A lot of that stuff, mental health, depression, autism, they have a stigma associated with it where people feel like it's taboo to talk about it. But I think you're right. The more we talk about these things, the more people find a common ground with each other and a support system and into dealing with these problems that everybody's facing.
And relate to. I have, this recently, like I said, I had a couple of people read the book that needed to read the book, and they said they related to a lot of things in the book. Yeah. Even though it wasn't, they didn't go.
Very relatable.
They didn't go through the weeks without sleep like I did, or they didn't go through all the rest and this and that, but there's something in there that
I never sold my Porsche.
Right. So, but there's something in there that they related to,
Yes.
and they said that it helped them.
Yeah,
And-
whether
and
it's I don't know. I think that's the main thing there that you just touched on. It helps them and they relate to you. It doesn't matter the details, whether it was their Porsche 911 that he sold or whether it was their Toyota Corolla or their set of power tools. That whatever they looked at it back like, man, I was so hard up and so drugged out of my mind that I gave away something that I cared so much about, that I was just clouded with judgment at the time. Right. And somebody can relate to that on any level, because I know we've all been there, I think, to a certain degree, that you give up something that you really cared about for something in the short term that wasn't worth it. And, those are one of those relatable things that it just feels good to hear other people going through it.
And I think one of the big things, too, that I want to make sure people get out of this book, too, is just the overcoming of struggles, right? I think we all have something that we're trying to overcome or trying to be better at, or I'm saying, not let bother them or something. And the book clearly talks about if all the bad things that I was doing, all the horrible things I've done to the people around me and to myself and the people around me, and how difficult it was to overcome those things. If I can do it, anyone can. And I know you hear that out there, a lot maybe, but
it's true.
But it's true, right?
I think that's why you hear it so much.
Sometimes you hear. I wanted to make sure when I was writing this book, I wanted to paint the clear picture of how bad I was, and I did overcome it. And so whatever anybody is going through, I believe they can be better. They can look for a way out, and I just want to hopefully inspire that person to say, hey, whatever you're going through, find that better person on the other side of that door.
Right.
Got to knock doors down, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
That's the whole thing about it. Yeah. So, well, Carlos, thank you very much for joining us on this episode. Again, folks, you can go to kddmediacompany.com, get all the details on purchasing the book, reminding you that the proceeds and all of it go towards the foundation and the great programs there. And, I'm proud to be a part of it and for letting me in on that and getting the read before it's out to folks. But it really is an excellent read, and I highly encourage it for anyone because, you may not... everyone has different circumstances. Everyone has different challenges. And the solution, I think, will be different for you. But it does show you, like you said, that there is a way to knock that door down, get through on the other side, and seek your success. Because I really think that's what it is. And when I say success for you, it's on a personal level. It's not a monetary thing. And for me, that was the great reward of what you paint there, is the success that you can be as a person, because oftentimes people define success as this monetary thing or this attention thing or
how
this
many
fame
followers
thing.
you got on Instagram and this and that. That's not really success. Success is doing something with your life, I think, that benefits others. And, this is a great example of that.
Yeah, I think we all need to wake up with a purpose, right?
Yeah.
We have to wake up and have a purpose. And so anybody out there that's maybe struggling, find that purpose that will drive you in the morning to get up and do something, and hopefully at the same time, when you're out there trying to be successful and make money and buy but you're also helping people on the way. And that's one of the things I've been focusing a lot, because I was blessed, to have people that were there ready to help me once I was ready to help myself.
Yeah.
And when I finally made that decision, look, I'm done. They had their arms were open and they welcomed me, and so I want to make sure that I do the same and help others in need.
Yeah, definitely. That shows the power of love, that it is much greater than hate and negativity. So it's awesome, man. Make sure you guys check it out. I love to read.
You.
Great book. Thank you, Carlos.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you again to Carlos Vieira for coming on this episode of Knockin Doorz Down. The book, Knockin Doorz Down, available now at kddmediacompany.com. You can also go to Amazon, get the paperback, the hardcover, as well as the ebook. Maybe share it with someone that is in need right now of some inspiration, and to know that they too can push through and get on the other side of whatever is afflicting them at this particular moment in their life. Don't forget to subscribe now to the Knockin Doorz Down podcast on the Apple Podcast app, Google Play, Spotify, and you can go to kddmediacompany.com.
This podcast contains the views and opinions of the Knockin Doorz Down hosts and their guests to the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each person is sharing their unique perspective, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in the podcast and website are our own and do not represent that of our places of work. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Privacy is of the utmost importance to us. For those wishing anonymity, people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect confidentiality at the request of certain guests. This website or podcast should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis for expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship. If you find any errors in any of the content of this podcast or blogs, please send a message through the contact page. This podcast is owned by KDD Media Company.